Hey y'all, it's the Abstract Oracle, and I am back speaking on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Season 12, The Reunion. So, this reunion was actually rather historic because this is the first time that we have, since reality TV, that we have actually had a reunion that was done over the internet. So this is the first virtual reunion that we've ever experienced. So when we first heard that there was going to be a virtual reunion, I'm sure, because I've heard quite a few people saying it, like we were kind of concerned. I know I was, like, how is this going to translate? Like, are we going to be able to get the same feeling that we get when we watch the reunions, especially because it had been such a big gap in between as well. So, it's like you would think that after, you've had some time in between the reunion, and I know, of course, they start watching the shows kind of around the same time we do. So yeah, it kind of reignites some of that anger you may have had, but at the same time, it was like you didn't really get to have that response because you may have been watching it around the same time as we did, but you're also having to wait to do the reunion. So it gives you some time to kind of simmer back down again. So what I can say is, I decided, I know this video is a little late, but I decided I wanted to wait a minute so I could see what other people had to say, some other people that I follow on YouTube, to see what they had to say, to see where we agreed and where we didn't agree. And one of the things that we can all, that all the people that like I said, that I follow, what we all agreed on is that Bravo did a really great job. How they were able to set it up to where, regardless to whatever your connection, Wi-Fi connection, hotspot thing, whatever people were using, regardless to whatever that situation may be, that it worked. Because I'm sure, like with everyone else, for me, that was a concern. We were wondering, like, okay, is somebody's internet gonna go out? Is it gonna be pixelating and a lot of different, different things like that? But none of that happened. I was pleasantly surprised with that because I didn't know if they were going to be able to pull it off, and they actually did. So bravo to Bravo. So at the beginning, we're seeing the women and they're getting prepared for the reunion. They're showing them, waking up super early in the morning. And it was interesting because clearly a couple of people have been cocktailing prior to that. So it was interesting to me. So Andy goes on, he does his usual check-in with everybody, like, oh, Nene, you look pretty, and, blah, blah, blah. He asked her about her song, and she was like, it's doing better than most, and so that was a dig at Kenya and her twirl. And when I found out that Porsha had a song, I didn't even know she had a song too. So kind of a little cut at her too, I'm sure, but more so directed towards Kenya because we know that is her target at this time. So, of course, Kenya responds with her, because she looked beautiful. All the women looked beautiful, actually. As far as their outfits, I would have to say my favorite look, personally, was Cynthia. Cynthia was first. Then I'd have to say Eva. Then Kenya. I liked Kenya's outfit, but it was very simplistic, but it was beautiful, and she looked amazing. Like Cynthia looked amazing. They all looked good. Like I said, they all looked good. Even Candy, who had done her own makeup and hair, like, you were okay, Candy, you had pulled through. It's like you didn't have to have a makeup artist like the other women did, admitted to doing slightly without admitting it. But everybody looked well. I found it interesting that Nene had kind of forewarned us in her video, like she, like I said before, she was trying to get ahead of this so she could set the tone. So, we'll be viewing it through her perspective. She mentioned, that she had worn black, and was it a coincidence? No, I'm sorry, a coincidence She she wanted to know if it was a coincidence, but she said, and I think a lot of people who, like I said, people who I've watched their other videos and stuff, what they seem to be forgetting is at first she said she was gonna wear white, and then whoever she was talking to on the phone told her two other people were wearing white, so she might want to reconsider. That's when she went to the black. Then when she saw, when they got them all situated and I guess set up to get prepared to start, she saw everybody had on white except her. And that's when she went and she changed. And so then people were kind of giving her a pass on her outfit, like, you know, oh, well, it was okay. She looked rushed. And, you know, somebody said something about some makeup on her shirt or whatever. I didn't see that. But to me, it was like, well, no, I'm not going to give her a pass because she said she was going to wear white originally. So this was not, you know, I don't know if she got to see something or play back something and she didn't end up liking what she was wearing. So she gave us this excuse like she had to hurry up and rush and change her outfit. But it's like, no, because you originally were going to wear white. So you don't get a pass on that one. Not for me. I'm sorry. So anyway, so he comes over to Porsha, and Porsha has on her little crown thing or whatever. And I like Porsha. I think Porsha is funny. But again, like for me, the reason that I've even chosen to do this type of take on the show and then try to add in some cards about with some certain questions or whatever is because I think I'm fair. You know, I don't have a favorite. I don't like this one over that one. I like them. I have liked them, and then I have not liked them all. So all of them have done something that I'm like, see, that part right there. Doesn't mean I don't like them. It's just that I've gotten to see certain things about their character, each one of them, that I'm like, that was kind of shaky. That was kind of questionable, but okay. So, excuse me. So anyway, she has on her crown and stuff like that. But I have to say, to me, her stuff looked kind of cheap. It may not be, but the way that it looked on camera, and I would have to kind of say that about everybody's kind of jewels. They didn't look, I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the big earrings that look like crystals that you get from the beauty supply. I'm just saying, that's just my opinion. You know, I think that some were able to pull it off a little bit better, but it looked kind of cheesy. I'm sorry. I didn't really care for Porsha's outfit that much either. She would have been on the lower end for me. Marlo being last, because Marlo's outfit, and usually Marlo, you know, I'm not really a label hound like she is, but usually her, you know, she pulls her little outfits together or whatever. I don't always care for it. I don't know. It just didn't work for me. Like, it just didn't work. So anyway, so he asked Andy, being shady, asked Kenya, what does she think about Porsha's crown? So Porsha is like, Kenya says, well, I guess if you can't earn one, you can always buy one. And so Porsha was like, oh, well, she was like, oh, you tried it. You know how Porsha talks, you know, oh, you tried it. But at least it's not, what'd she say? It's not dusty though. So then Andy goes on asking about who did their hair and who did their makeup. Candy was actually the only one who actually did her own hair and makeup. Eva says she did her own hair, which, okay, you don't really have hair, so it's not that hard to do, but okay. So you did, yay. Hey, Eva, you did, so you did your hair, and then everybody else just kind of was quiet, you know. So then we move on to them talking about the multiple personalities or the alter egos that people have. So we have Nene and Nene. We have Cynthia and 50 Cent. We have Kenya and Ken, and we have I like Fun Nene. Now Fun Nene seems like she's cool and she will have you cracking up. But when she gets in her bag and she starts having to feel like she needs to check you, or she's getting her defensive mode, I don't always appreciate it. Sometimes I do, but sometimes I think it's like, so a lot of people I've seen have been saying how Nene read, she read Kenya, she read Eva, blah, blah, blah. And maybe it's just me. Nene has a tendency to go for looks or body parts or things like that, which are that's like elementary reading. Like, those were super, super rudimentary. And so I really hope she didn't pay for some of them. Like the rest of talking about Kenya's booty and her skin, like, okay, Nene, you've been saying that one for, ever since y'all first had y'all first disagreement. So can you come up with something new? You got some new stuff to say? No? You still sticking with that? Okay. I guess some people still find that funny. I'm not really sure why, but, hey, to each his own, right? So then they showed Cynthia and 50 Cent, because that was one of Nene's things, talking about, she was really trying to let us know we were gonna see how bad Cynthia is, and she's not what you think she is, and it was like that tape, like, yeah, everybody has another side to them. What I noticed too this season was we actually got to see, which I knew this was happening, but I didn't have any proof of it until this season, where we actually got to see there was a conversation that happened between Eva and Cynthia. And they were talking about how they initially, when they first met, they were kind of like a little tension between the two. And then they showed each one of them separately talking to Nene. So Nene was feeding them information about the other one. So it's like, okay, I knew she was doing that. I just couldn't prove it, but now we have proof. So what that told me was, initially, that's what happened between Nene and Cynthia and Kenya too, because Cynthia was Nene's friend. Then when Kenya came in, it was kind of like this little thing going back and forth, and then Cynthia had invited her to help with the video she was doing, and we saw all of that stuff go down, and it made Kenya look like she was being a jerk. But technically she was kind of being, she was kind of helping Cynthia to tighten up, because Cynthia has a tendency, it seems like she likes to start businesses, but she's also kind of like, it's a very let them eat cake kind of position. She's like, well, do such and such. Well, people have to have 2 days off a week. Since when? So it's like, it just shows you that she's kind of out of touch. Like she likes to start businesses, but she's kind of out of touch with the everyday goings on in the businesses. She's just kind of a title, or she lends her name, or she lends her money to a situation that brings her, and there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't make her a bad business person. It just shows you that she's not really the one who focuses on all of the details. Details don't seem to be very important with her. And we talk about Candy being Salt Bae. So they are showing how Candy was the bone collector of the season, and she kind of admitted to it, which of course you need to have somebody be it's always a bone collector in these kind of shows. It's like, and that's the other thing even about relationships, like that's what the show is based on, is housewives. That means we're wives, we're married, we have a relationship. So that's what, yes, people are going to talk about people's relationships. People are going to have to gossip. That's what the whole thing, the premise of the whole show is about. Like, so to act as if that somehow, that's so terrible or whatever, it's crazy to me. Like, y'all do know what y'all this is what you do, right? This is part of your work. This is part of your job. Now, if you don't want to do that job anymore, then that's different. But to act as if this is not something that part of the premise of the show is really a little like, come on, y'all. Don't play. Your audience is not as stupid as you think we are. We're not. We're just simply not. So don't play with our intelligence. Don't insult our intelligence like that. Please. Please. Thank you. We appreciate it. Anyway, so Candy's, you know, like I said, she admits that she's Salt Bae in a sense, but the thing is that, you know, Eva, you did say some things, and then, you know, you want to blame it on pregnancy brain, like, okay, that's very possible. It's possible. But at the same time, I think the general consensus with people is that, you know, once it's brought back to you, like, you may not remember it in the moment, like after you say it, like whatever. But then when it's brought back to you, even if you don't remember saying it, you should probably be, especially if it's on film, you should probably take the stance like, well, I don't remember, but if I did say it, yep, I stand in, yep, I sure did, I meant it. That's what I meant though. Or, you know, just owning it in a sense, I think will give you a lot more credibility. So then Andy asked what she thought of the Ken and Kenya thing. Oh no, he asked Kenya first, and Kenya was like, well, I thought it was funny, you know, but and then he asked Nene, and so Nene was like, well, I like Ken the best because Ken knows how to shut the fuck up. And so then Kenya was like, well, Nene should follow suit. And so then that's when Nene was like, well, Nene is more like Ken, and Nene such and such and such, and I'm, you know, so she goes into this whole thing that she, you know, where she starts to talk loud and over talk the other person, so you can't really hear what the other person is saying. You just really kind of hear her talking. So then they go back and forth about multiple personalities and things like that. And Nene ends up calling Kenya a bitch. We just got into the reunion, so she was like, I'm already a bitch. She was like, oh, we're ahead of schedule. So, you know, because we all know that that's one of her go-to things. So, Nene says, you'll be a bitch every time I see you, and if you come for me or whatever. And it's like, so then, you know, she's like, Nene always wins. Nene always wins, and blah, blah, blah. But I'm, like I said, I'm really trying to figure out, like, what are you mad about? Like, why are you mad? I don't even understand why you're mad. It didn't really, it's like, you mad from some stuff she said a few seasons back, or because she wasn't on last season. So I'm just trying to figure out, and then, but you're trying to play it like she's the one that's holding the grudge. But all she did was not accept your apology, which she has every right not to do. You don't get to say something or do something to somebody and then determine when they should accept your, extend forgiveness to you, or even want to accept your apology. They don't have to do that. So if you feel like she's being so petty, then leave her alone. Just leave her alone. I've extended olive branch. She don't want your olive branch, so she don't have to have your olive branch. So then they start talking about Kenya's karma, and this karma happening in her relationships and things like that. And is this happening because of karma? And so, you know, Porsha and Nene had talked about it being karma and things like that. And then Porsha starts talking about how Kenya had talked about her relationship, and Nene is saying how, you know, she agrees with Porsha because she has talked about other people's relationships. So have you. So have you. So has Porsha. So this is not anything new. It's not. So then you said you called her a child of Buffalo. You said you didn't say it, and then they proved that you did say it. So then I didn't mean it like that. I'm like, okay. whether you meant it like that or not, you said it. Then you didn't really give an apology. Yelling at somebody saying you sorry is not an apology. Then right after she didn't really accept your apology about that, you went on to, no, I'm sorry, you didn't apologize for that. You asked her about her, once we started finding out what was going on with her relationship, excuse me, that's when you were sincere for about 40 seconds, enough for you to ask her was she okay, and her not really want to get into it with you. She didn't say it wasn't a good time, and you could not, because you're so self-absorbed, you couldn't see, which I could understand that, and you should have been able to understand that, but because you feel like people should do, you know, whenever you say jump, they should be asking you how high, and she didn't, so now you got an attitude. It's like, girl, please. You have Eva and Nene going back and forth, to the point where Andy has to mute them. So then, because, you know, she's trying to discredit Eva's accomplishments and act as if what she's doing is so much better and going to be going down in the annals of history or something. And it's like, girl, you are so funny to me. So then we got to the children being off limits, and Kenya says she's never spoken on Nene's children, which, if I think back, I can't think of a time where she actually has. Not saying she hasn't said anything about somebody's children, because she may have, but she has not said anything about Nene's children. She did. She said something about Kim's daughter. So she has said something about children to a certain degree, but that was really more geared at Kim and what Kim allows her children to do. So it wasn't really about her daughter. It was more about what Kim has, the example that Kim has been for her children. So she really still wasn't talking about somebody's children. But Nene starts trying to say how she, you know, it's like you want to speak on everybody's children. And so, you know, Nene's like trying to belittle it and, you know, dismiss it. You know, are you mad about nothing? Blah, 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 blah. But then they show, which I can appreciate that, Andy, like, then they show her with Sheree, because Sheree had actually said something about her children and her son shoplifting and all that, which we all know has been on the blogs and all that stuff. I think she's even addressed it. But, you know, she was real hostile, like, don't talk about my kid. And it was like, okay. But you turned around and did that, called that girl's baby a buffalo, though. And then after you so-called apologized for that statement, you turned around and said that the egg wasn't her baby. Basically, is what you're trying to say. And it was like, you say something and then you try to dig your way out of it once you see that people are not responding to it well, and then you go around and dig even further. Like, okay, I don't get it. So Kenya's like, you know, and you say, oh, your baby looked like Mark. And so she was like, yeah, my baby does look like Mark, thank God. And your children look just like you. And it's like, really what she should have said, and maybe she meant to say, like, they look just like you used to look, because you don't look like how you look. So I'm just saying, Nene. And that's the thing, is like, going for someone's looks is really too easy, like, because nobody has control over how they're designed. You know, it's like they don't have any control over that. You don't get to decide, like, okay, I want my dad's eyes and give me my mom's nose. It doesn't work that way. So we get what we get, and we have to work it out when we get here. And, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. To me, what's on the outside appearance is going to change. So I don't get attached to the outside. And when you think about it, when somebody, even if somebody is so fine or so cute or whatever, when they get on your nerves, all of that cute and fine goes out of the window. I don't care who it is. So that's a temporary thing. That's not even something that's substantial. And we get to see that. So it's really about the person's character. Who are you? Not what you look like. they're going back and forth, and she's like, I'm gorgeous, and Kenya's like, well, I'm flawless. No, you not. Skenya, such a booty. Well, she called her something botched booty, blah blah blah, such and such. So Kenya was like, girl, shut up. I don't know if she what she say over there looking like a white drag queen, and then she said, I don't know if I'm watching a episode of The Real Housewives or a scene from White Chicks. That was funny, cause I'm sure it was the lighting, but you did look a little ashened there, you and Marlo, and Tanya, and in the midst of them talking about this, they're talking about how Eva is, she has a house. So then Porsha jumps in, and Portia's like, I thought finances was off the thing. Well, I guess it's just open now. And so Eva is like, well, if I didn't have finances, how could I afford to get $1 million house? I don't know that makes a difference. And she's talking about, because at first I was kind of trying to figure out, like, well, why does she need to say that she got her house at 35? And then Nene told it right in the midst of her going off on Eva. She was like, because they start talking about her evictions and her foreclosures, and I ain't never had no foreclosure because I haven't owned no house until now. And I was like, oh, so you didn't have a house. Like, okay, so that's why Eva was like, oh, I got a house at 35, because she may not be that much younger than Porsha, but she's definitely younger than Nene. So that was what that was about. And it was like, oh, that makes sense now. So I thought it was interesting though, because it's like, I thought you was rich. Why you just not getting a house? Like, oh, okay. Well, I know you were trying to decide if you wanted to get a house in LA when you thought you were going to be working in television, but that didn't work out for you. So maybe that's why. But yeah, so then Porsha again jumps in, and they're going back and forth, and she's like, well, we all have a house. We all got a house. And she was like, well, I'm younger than you. So she said, so I'm younger than you. And so that's where that all came from. And it's like, oh, okay. So then Porsha was like, well, you ain't no spring chicken. And she was like, yeah, but you a something hen, an old hen or something like that. And she was like, those titties of an old hen, they over there social distancing. That part was kind of funny too. Like, okay, Porsha, I understand that it was a joke and a comeback, but at the same time it was kind of like body shaming, which you got pretty upset about when Nene called you fat, and then also when Eva talked about your C-section scar. So I'm just saying. But anyway, so Andy mentions how Nene spoke about Kenya's marriage being fake. So Kenya produces a certificate, which I'm sure a lot of people are going to be talking about, that is not real, but it would be kind of difficult to go get a document. And I think there's some, if she shows this document on television and they can prove that it's not real, that there may be some legalities that go along with that. So I don't think she would take the chance. Kenya's not stupid, so I don't think she would take a chance and do that. Plus, we're in the middle of this corona thing, so I'm sure people are not around somewhere having official seals just hanging around at their house that would validate their license, and also that the country that they're, it's like you can't just go buy one of those seals somewhere. It's not like it's at Walmart. So yeah, I'm just saying, because I know people will get a lot of people suffer from cognitive dissonance, and it's like, you hold on regardless to what anybody can show you to prove that this idea you have is wrong. You just refuse to let it go. And I feel like that's what's happened with Kenya because of Phaedra, and people have kept that going. And Phaedra has already been proven to be a liar and being a person who is not above lying on someone, even if it's her spouse. So it's like, that would just make me side eye her, And initially, I liked Phaedra, her little Southern Belle thing, but we know she's lied before. She lied about her knowing far along she was on her pregnancy. She, it's like she's done little things that were like real sketchy, and then you like, okay. So, then Cynthia verifies that, this calling relationships fake is a reoccurring theme on the show, and that Nene has even said that her relationship with Mike Hill was fake. She said, no, I never said that. Bravo shows an article where it looks like she did kind of say that. So then Nene gets frustrated, and y'all not gonna cover what y'all not gonna do, what you not gonna do, and so then she gets mad, and because by her saying all that, Eva's like, yeah, we are gonna say whatever we want to say, we are gonna do such and such. She was like, well, I'll do this, so she closed her computer. So we know that's one of her other usual things. So she will yell and talk loud, loudly overtalk you. When that doesn't work, she usually retreats and just gets silent and shuts down and tries to get Andy to focus on someone else and deflect away from her. And she'll even get snappy with him. It's like whenever she feels like she's cornered, that's what she does. And if none of that works, then she retreats. So, so then she's she comes back, and Kenya says, because she leaves, so Kenya's like, well, come back, Nene, because you weren't in that many episodes, and we know you need them checks. So we go to a commercial, we come back, and now there is Marlo and Tanya there. And not long after that, Nene comes back. So what it looks like to me is that Nene felt she needed some more reinforcement besides Porsha. Even though Porsha was kind of, she was going for the home team. She was keeping them in line a little bit. But again, I think Porsha was going way too hard. I don't necessarily think it was sincere. I'm not really sure about her relationship with Nene and why she's doing these things that she's doing. But Marlo and them are there. Marlo kind of talks about her nephews for a second, nothing super serious. Tanya tries to tell a joke about making some cookies. It didn't go well. It flopped. But Tanya is an interesting character. I think that because of the way that she talks, that people think that she's super, super sweet and, oh, she's so innocent and fun and things like that. And it's like, the reason I don't think that's true is because they start talking about, and they show a clip, and they show her saying to Candy, oh, I call you KMZ. And it's like, okay, so you call her that, which means that you have said this when she wasn't around. And that shows you like, okay, she has the ability to be shady. She has, which is what she was doing with the wig thing. And, it's like she does a little underhanded things, and it's like, okay. And Erica De Niro TV, you should subscribe to her. Hey Erica, shout out to you. She made a really good point too. She said that Tanya is not necessarily a good friend, because if she was, she wouldn't be encouraging Porsha to run back into the burning house with Dennis. And I agree with that. I feel like your friend would who would want you to be happy, but at the same time tell you to be cautious, because you have a history of not necessarily picking good relationships. And so sometimes you need your friend to bring you back to reality. Like, okay, doesn't mean they're not encouraging and things like that. She can be a great cheerleader, but that's not all you do. You don't cheer somebody into like, yay, set yourself on fire, yay. No, that's not a good, that's not good. So Um, then Porsha and Eva get into it, and by this time, Porsha is clearly tipsy, but she is really going in with this Dennis with a bow comment. And I'll never forgive you. And, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, okay. But yet, Kenya should forgive Nene. Okay, I'm just trying to understand how we can see it for one and not for the other. But okay. Um, and, you know, I just really feel like it doesn't feel genuine. Again, it feels like Porsha is saying this because she is wanting to secure her space. That's what I feel like. She's trying to secure her space for the next reunion or the next season. So she's trying to find something to, which I guess if you think about that, it's like, well, maybe Eva might help you that Porsha is mad at you. So maybe you should be, you know, like, okay, play into it a little bit, because we all know it's not really like, girl, that baby does look like Dennis with a bow. She looks like you too, but she does look like him. And so what's the big deal? Unless you think Dennis is not attractive. So that's, because if you think he's attractive, then what difference does it make? So it's almost like you're saying you trying to say my baby is ugly, but you're saying your baby daddy is ugly. So it's funny to me. So, but you can see, you know, while they're going back and forth, and Porsha is trying to get Eva together, you hear Nene laughing in the background, and it's like, oh, it's all funny now, huh? It's like, you are really, really a trip, Nene Leakes. You, Lanithia Leakes, you are a trip. And I've seen you before. I've seen you before. And the thing is, you talk about karma. You will see that some of the you know, you're talking about going to therapy now because of all the things that were said, and it's like, and you always want to play victim, and it's like, I hope you actually are going to counseling. I really do. I hope that you're taking it seriously. I hope that you have someone who's actually challenging you, unlike your life coach. So yeah, so I really hope that you are. I don't think that, you know, you couldn't handle Dr. Jeff really well, and he didn't even really go in on you that hard. But it's like, you seem to really have an adversity towards people seeing you in a light that you don't like, instead of you taking it on as, you know what, I don't like that about me, let me work on that, you know, and, or I like that about me and I'm not changing it, you know. It's like, you'd rather just get combative. So they talk about and Eva, you admitting that the Dennis with the bow comment was supposed to be a read, that was kind of disappointing to me, because you're saying that you're talking about looks at this point, and it's like, nobody has control over how they look. They don't, you know, they don't. It's like, and so for you to try to make that a read to Porsha was kind of like, oh, I thought you was actually trying, just saying like, girl, she don't look like her daddy, you know. But so I was kind of a little disappointed in that. And then they brought up the nappy headed comment, and I was also kind of disappointed in that response, because after Kenya so eloquently broke down why that was inappropriate, you said, I understand, but, and so that but kind of dismisses everything that you said, that everything that was said prior to that. And it's like, that wasn't cool. You know, you could have just sat with it and said, you know what, you're right, and just left it at that. And I think that's part of the problem, like with you, that people on this season, they think you're boring or whatever. And I think even you being pregnant, because Phaedra was pregnant twice on the show as well, but it's the fact that you don't hold yourself, like, even if you said you didn't remember, because you may not remember everything that you say. I don't know anybody who necessarily does, but the fact that you don't own it is what I think people are really having an issue with. So you would do better to even be like, well, I don't remember saying it, but if I said it, then that's what I meant. Nobody can fault you for that. They could be just like, oh, because what are they going to do anyway? They can't whoop you. So, it's like, you can say what you want to say. Don't confuse the two, because sometimes that can happen. Okay, so we finally get around to Nene's apology tour. So they're talking about how she went around and apologized to everybody, and they were talking about Porsha. Candy explained why she was curious about the Porsha, saying, it's been hard without you. And, so Porsha explains why she was hard without Nene, because Nene was there for her when she was going through her divorce with Cordell. And, it's like, okay, whatever, girl. But they were really trying to point out how badly Nene talked about her and how badly she treated her. But she said, she talked about her bad too. And, so I could appreciate Porsha trying to take responsibility for their back and forth. But at the same time, it was like, don't use sisterhood for toxicity. So then Porsha says she had receipts and things like that. So that was one of the questions that I wanted to ask the cards. So I had done it previously because I haven't figured out yet how to shuffle and show you all that I'm shuffling without it taking as long as it can sometimes take, because sometimes it can actually take a minute for the cards to kind of make themselves known. So I had already pulled out some cards, I had already shuffled and things like that. I'm going to learn how to do that because I like that little way you can speed things up. I don't know how to do that yet, but once I figure it out, then you will actually see me shuffling continuously. This is not how I do readings necessarily, but this is just for this, using the cards in this arena. So what I did was I asked the cards, and these are the angel answer cards. I used those because they're very specific. It's like yes or no's, or pretty more specific about timing and things like that. So I said, my first initial question was, does Porsha have receipts? So the first card that came up was like in a few weeks, within the next few weeks. I believe that because again, we're gonna find out in the next few weeks if she actually does have receipts or not. So then I asked again, like, does Porsha have receipts? Yes. And I was like, ooh, Kenya. I was rooting for you, girl. I can't see you, you saying something about your homegirl to Porsha. Like, y'all not cool. So why would y'all say that? But, I don't know what was happening during that time. I know both of them have mentioned how they got to be a little closer and cool during their pregnancies. So who knows? I think, of course, this is a job, y'all. This is not necessarily these people's real life. But it's a part of it. It's part of their work that they do. That's what reality TV is. So, I'm not surprised that they would be going behind each other and trying to, secure their positions and, get peaches and plums and apricots and whatever else. It's like, so that's not unusual to me. So what she said, but the thing is, I do really believe that there's a genuine friendship there, because you can see it in Kenya's eyes. If you pay attention to her eyes, I don't think people really are here for her or give her a whole bunch, but I think she has the ability to be able to separate television from real life, and other people don't. So I feel like she, you know, she knows how to turn it off and on, and that may seem like it's fake to some people, but it's just like, no, she has her boundaries. She knows that, okay, I'm at work. So when I'm at work, Kenya, we just happen to be using my character. My character's name is the same name as my actual name. So, but I am an actress. This is a show. We do set up things so that these types of things, we can get these reactions and things like that. And she's good at getting reactions out of people. I mean, we can't deny that. So, you know, people talking about, I was just talking to a friend of mine, and it was like, you know, people talking about she's trying to come for Nene's position. I don't think that's true. I don't think Kenya's not trying to be in Nene's position. You have to have a nemesis and a protagonist. It can't just be one or the other. It has to be both. And that's where you get the chemistry. That's where you get the push and the pull. So technically, Nene and Kenya need each other. That's why I said even about the beef that Porsha is trying to create for her and Eva. Like, Eva, it could help you out actually to have this ongoing beef back and forth with Porsha. So, you know, it might give you another chance to redeem yourself and go move from your plum to a peach. So when they said yes, I was like, oh, okay. But then I was like, but are they real though? Because we have this the same person who thought Candy was gonna have her down in the dungeon somewhere based on something somebody told her or whatever. So it's like, okay, were these Kenya's messages actually from Kenya's telephone, from such and such, you know what I mean? Like, not to say it's not, but is this the right context? Is that what she really said? Is that what she meant? Or is that how you understood it? You know, those kind of things, because we also know that, you know, Porsha thought the Underground Railroad was a railroad. I'm just saying. So, you know, with your understanding of things or your comprehension on stuff can be somewhat questionable sometimes, Kenya. So I asked, were they real? Were the receipts real? Like, because you can have receipts, but are they real? No. So I'm looking forward to these next 2 episodes so that I can see if the cards were on point. They usually are. I haven't had, in the long time that I've been doing them, I haven't seen where they were off. We will see what happens, because that pretty much wraps it up, I think, as far as, you know, because then at the end, they all were just talking and over-talking each other and doing all kind of stuff, and you couldn't hear anything. You see Andy like, hey, trying to grab the mic and do all of that, and then we get preview for upcoming week. So I think next week we'll find out if those receipts were real, which goes along with what the card said, and if they, you know, was what happens. So please, thank you for watching. I know it was kind of long, but I wanted to really get a full perspective, not just try to just run down the episode. I also wanted to show the underneath, the undercurrent of certain things. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you for supporting this channel. Please like and subscribe. I'm going to put some links down below that connect you with other videos and other people who have perspectives. And thank you for watching. If you have any questions you might want to ask that we can use some cards for, please also put those down there as well. And thanks. Okay, peace.